So we've just arrived on holiday. I'm staying in a lovely little cottage in a very scenic section of the Lake District, overlooking the lake, overlooking mountains. It's absolutely beautiful here. I'm so happy to be back. I love the Lake District, especially at this time of year, so I'm looking forward to a really good week, and it's just so beautiful. It doesn't feel real yet. I feel like I'm just out for a day and I'll be going back to work tomorrow, but no, I'm here for a whole week and I plan to have the best time. On my drive up here, I've been listening to The Wolf and the Woodsman, the audiobook, and I'm getting on really, really well with this. I've nearly finished. I've only got about 2 hours left now. I'm loving this so much. It's a beautiful story. I love the folklore that we hear. Our main character, Eva Kay, is recounting being told these folk tales by a woman in her village, and it's just such a lovely addition to a story, especially because a lot of them are stories that I don't know. They're folk tales that I've not come across before, and I love anything with folk tales and fairy tale feel to it, so it's really, really wonderful. I'm loving it so much. And so it very much follows several tropes, but in a good way. So you have a bit of an enemies to lovers romance, you have a main character being kind of an outcast from her society and having to go and be a sacrifice and going on a quest, and you've got some political element as well. It's a truly wonderful story and I'm really, really loving it, so I look forward to finishing that off maybe this evening. Hello, so it is my first night away in this lovely cottage. It is properly quaint and cosy here, as you can kind of tell from the decor behind me. Also very Halloween appropriate. It could well be the setting of a very spooky story, though I'm hoping not, because I don't want to be scared while I'm staying here. But anyway, it seems like a lovely cottage and I'm sure we're going to have the most wonderful week. But this evening, I am planning to do a bit more reading. I've got on very well, as I said earlier, with The Wolf and the Woodsman this evening. I only have a couple of hours left of the audiobook, so I'm hoping I can get through that in the next couple of hours. I'm also planning actually to watch some sprints this evening. So on Pris's channel, she is hosting sprints for the turning the clocks back time zone change thing. So we have an extra hour of sleep over the evening, so hopefully can actually get some reading done during that time. I may well have a nap first and have like an hour's sleep before I tune into that one starting at midnight, or I might just stay up for the whole thing, I don't know. But I do really want to get The Wolf and the Woodsman finished and maybe start something else this evening as well. I'm feeling very cosy, so I think it's time for a good reading evening. So I will hopefully show you a bit more of my progress and update you with my thoughts. Book completed. It's now very, very late. I've been reading for goodness knows how many hours. Really enjoyed the book, really enjoyed the sprints. But I am now going to bed. I will update you tomorrow with my thoughts, but for now, good night. honestly couldn't be happier right now. This is just the most beautiful place. It's an autumn paradise. I feel like I'm in a fantasy novel and I'm just living for it. It's absolutely stunning. Hello, so it is Halloween evening and I have spent the day delightfully reading for most of it. It's been very rainy most of the day. As you saw from the b-roll earlier, we had the most gorgeous walk in a break in the showers with just the most spectacular autumn scenery I think I've ever seen. I love this place so much. The Lake District in autumn is just my favourite world to be a part of. But apart from that couple of hours break, it has been very rainy, so I've been able to get lots of reading done, as I had hoped I would. So, as I told you earlier, I finished last night The Wolf and the Woodsman, so I was ready for another audiobook, and so I started and actually have read the whole of Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I had initially planned to read this on Scribd as an ebook, but found out very annoyingly the other day that it was no longer available in my country on Scribd, which is so frustrating when that happens. So instead I had to get it as an audiobook on Audible. I did have a credit, thank goodness, so I was able to get hold of the story and have actually listened to the whole thing a little bit on the walk, and then mostly this afternoon just sat in the cottage doing some, creative tasks, some drawing and colouring and things. So I've had a lovely time, a very, very good way to spend a Halloween afternoon. I really enjoyed this book. I was very impressed with it. As a middle grade, it was very well written, very well composed, delightfully spooky in all the right ways. I had hoped it would be. It seemed like the perfect Halloween ambience, and I'm very, very glad that I did get to read it today. Exactly what you would hope for this sort of story. So we follow our main character, 11-year-old Ollie, who lives in, I think it's Vermont in America, which immediately conjures up all these wonderful views of autumn farms and pumpkins and cornfields and everything else you see in the media, which I was very happy to enjoy. And it is set in autumn as well, it's set around Halloween, and Ollie and her classmates go on a school trip to this farm, and obviously things end up not as straightforward as you might expect. And their bus breaks down and they are stranded in this cornfield and very spooky things start to happen. It's a lovely story. Ollie is a wonderful protagonist. She's someone who I can kind of relate to certain aspects of as a child myself, and I would have absolutely adored this book had I read it as the target audience. But once again, like many of the middle grades I've read this month, and recently in general, it's one that you can definitely read as an adult and get a lot out of the story and really appreciate it. So I have thoroughly enjoyed reading this book, and I believe it is actually the first in a series. There is at least one, if not two, sequels that have been written, so I look forward to getting to another one of these in the future. So another 4 out of 5 star middle grade. I'm doing very well with these so far. Now, I have still a little bit of time left, obviously in October. I am not going to fully complete my October TBR in that Lord of Chaos is still very far from being done because I have added so many extra books this week, but hopefully I can finish that on this holiday. I will roll that one over. But otherwise, I've had a very successful week, so I will probably read a bit more of that this evening, unless I decide to pick up something different again. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finishing off Halloween with yet more reading and having another lovely day tomorrow, and hopefully a bit less rain, so I can get out and explore a bit more. But there we are. Also, isn't this the most lovely gothic looking background? I love this mirror. I want one of these at home. It's very pretty. But anyway, I will speak to you again very soon, and happy Halloween! Another day, another walk, this time at the most beautiful forest waterfalls with gorgeous autumn colours once again. I'm having just the most lovely time. So time for a reading update, as I think it's actually been a couple of days since I spoke to you in person. I've been doing an awful lot of filming, but not of myself. But after having made a very, very slow start with Lord of Chaos and putting it on hold last week after an abysmally small amount of pages read, just so I could get through all my spooky books and the rest of my October TBR, I'm happy to report I have now been making some very good progress with this book, and I'm now exactly at the halfway point. I've been doing a lot better with this one over the past couple of days and actually really enjoying reading it. It is a beast of a book, as you can see, halfway through, and that is 507 pages, so we're aiming for the 1,000-page mark by the end of the week, and it is just colossal. But really, really enjoyable. I'm loving this book. I feel like we've now entered kind of a second phase of the story, maybe even a third to be honest, but definitely second, in that we had some very significant events at the end of the 5th book, The Fires of Heaven, and it just feels like all of our characters have reached a different point in their story, in that they're all growing up, they're all much more mature, they're all acting differently in varying degrees, but they're finding themselves quite settled in their different ways of life than they were at the very beginning of the book, and it just definitely feels like a different phase of the story, which I'm really, really enjoying. I'm liking where pretty much everybody's story has gone, and I'm loving meeting so many new characters as well, both nice characters and slightly villainous characters. It's just giving a different depth to the story, so I look forward to carrying on with this one. However, I am going to put it on hold for this evening and possibly tomorrow as well, and pick up a different book, because I don't want this vlog and this week to just be one book and that's it. So I've also brought with me, and I'm going to start, The Empty Throne by Bernard Cornwell. Now this one is another continuation of a very long series. This is a historical fiction book based around kind of the era of the Anglo-Saxons and the Viking invaders back in kind of early, when is this, 800 AD or something like that. It's a very, very long time ago. This is the 8th book in a very long series. I believe there's at least 12 in this series so far published, which follows our main character Uhtred, who was born a Saxon but raised by the Danes following the death of his father when he's about 10 years old. And the first book sees him growing up, and then subsequent books show him as an adult and his escapades with both Saxons and Danes, and the politics that involves, and his precarious position, if you like, giving him a little bit of a different angle than everybody else within that society. So it's very interesting. You have lots of battles, lots of blood and gore and torture and everything else, so it's not for the faint of heart, but also some really amusing character conversations and some lovely relationships, and I just really like these books. I'm a big fan of Bernard Cornwell's writing, and I'm liking working my way through the series. I read one about 2 months ago now, actually on my last holiday, but I thought it was high time to pick up another, and they are very short, they're very quick to get through. I mean, if you compare my two current reads, yes, this is, I think, 330 pages, so I can definitely do this in a day, plus probably a little bit this evening, so hopefully I will give you some thoughts on this one tomorrow, but for now I'm just going to get reading. The most perfect, beautiful November day. I cannot believe it's so sunny. It's freezing, as you can tell by my hat, but it's really, really beautiful out here, and we're having the most gorgeous walk. I am listening, as you can see, to an audiobook. I'm listening to Queenslayer by Sebastian, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. I love this book, and it's just the perfect way to spend a walk listening to a thoroughly entertaining story. So I will keep going and I will keep listening. Hello, so it is Thursday evening and I am just checking in to report I have now finished The Empty Throne by Bernard Cornwell. I've really enjoyed this book. I've raced through it in less than 24 hours as I fully intended to and expected to. As I said before, it is only a short book. It's only just over 300 pages, but I love these books so much. I love how speedy they are to read, not just because of their length, but because of the writing style as well. They're very action-packed. You jump from one event to another. There's very little kind of filling in the middle and just background detail and things. It's told in first person for the most part from our main character Uhtred's perspective, and he is a very entertaining narrator. I love being in his perspective in a story. His way of seeing the world is very refreshing and very amusing in places, and I just love how action-packed these books are. I also love the injection of history that we get, and a huge amount of these books is based on real historical events. Obviously there is a little bit of artistic license. Uhtred wasn't really a main character and a factor in all of these historical events that are reported, but his perspective within this real historical context makes it all the more accessible and interesting, and I just really enjoy it. So another strong read for me. As I've said, I always love these. This was, I think, the 8th one now in this series. I still have a few to go, but I'm getting nearer the end of the series, so I'm feeling like I'm completing a goal, and I just love these. They're a very comforting read for me. They're very easy to just dive back into and immediately pick up on the story, pick up on the action, and just be entertained thoroughly. So a very strong read, as I said, and I'm glad that I finally got this one done. It's just so entertaining to be in this world of a constant cycle of there's always another battle to complete or a quest to go on or some sort of political plot to be involved in, and it's very fast paced and I just love it. So moving on now, I obviously have some more of the Lord of Chaos to read. I will get back into that one probably a little bit this evening. I'm having another cosy evening. It's quite late, but I have my autumn ambience on in the background. I have some tea over there, so I'll probably read a little bit more. But I've also had a very successful day today of listening to audiobooks. So I've got through a good few hours of Queenslayer by Sebastian de Castell while I was on my walk today. Had the most beautiful day's walk. 4 different mountains, lots of lovely scenery, and the most amazing sun. It didn't feel like November at all. I think I did a very short clip for you earlier, but in case that didn't end up being film worthy. It was really beautiful out there, but very productive too. I love listening to audiobooks on walks, and especially being out in all that lovely scenery. It was just the perfect way to entertain myself, so I'm really enjoying Queenslayer too. Not quite as strong, I don't think, as some of the previous books in this series, but still a pretty decent read. I love the main characters, I love the way that these stories are told, and especially listening to them on an audiobook, you really get the voice of the character coming through, and Jo Jameson's narration is, as always, absolute top level, amazing stuff. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that one. I think I'm about halfway through now, so probably will listen to a little bit more tomorrow, and then going home on Saturday I'll listen to some in the car as well, and hopefully get another book rounded out this week. So that is all for now. I will go and read a little bit more of Lord of Chaos tonight and check in with you again tomorrow. Hello, another day, another mountain walk. Much less nice weather today than it was yesterday, but it feels a lot more autumnal and just kind of damp, and you can hear the river behind me and see the colours. It's really lovely, so I've decided to listen to a little bit more of Queenslayer while I'm on this walk. I had intended to save it for the journey home, but decided I may as well carry on with it. I can always listen to a new audiobook on the way home, so enjoy some scenery and let's carry on walking. Hello, so I'm back from my walk, didn't actually get rained on too badly in the end, and I have now finished listening to Queenslayer by Sebastian de Castell, and I thoroughly enjoyed this, as I expected I would. I love this series, and it's possibly just the most fun succession of books I've ever read, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. So, number 5 of 6 down, and only one left to go, which I hopefully can actually get fitted into this month's TBR as well, as a bit of an extra, because I'm just so excited to see where this series concludes, although I'll be very sad to have actually finished the experience of listening to the audiobooks, which are tremendous. So I loved this story, as I said. Initially, when I was listening to the first half, I thought this one might actually be a little bit more dull, shall we say, than some of the others in terms of its plot, and that it was very much in one setting, and it seemed just to be kind of more politically based rather than the general overarching story. But as usual, many things are woven into the story that you don't initially expect, and the political plot actually was really interesting. It was quite intricate, and it was very action-packed as usual. There was a constant stream of challenges for Kellen to overcome and problems for him to solve and mental and physical battles to face. So it was really good fun and high energy as usual. Also very amusing, as I love about these books. Even in the darkest of moments, there is a good thread of humour, which I particularly enjoy about this series. So another 4 out of 5 stars. I love this series a lot. It's always a high 4 stars for me. Every single book has been so far. And as I said, I'm really excited to get to the 6th and final one in the series. So I will now have to find myself another audiobook to listen to on the way home, but I'm sure I'll manage that. I might try and listen to maybe one of my middle grades that I'm doing for Believeathon. I don't know yet if any of those are audiobooks, but potentially that's a good way to get one of those done. But for now, I just have Lord of Chaos to finally finish off this holiday and my last day, and then I will count this as a very successful reading week. Perfect autumn reading spot. Hello, so I am now very sadly back home from holiday. I've had the most wonderful week getting away for a beautiful autumnal escape, and I really did not want to be back home, but sadly life must go on, and holidays are only special for the fact that they're a very transient moment in time, I suppose, and I have lots of lovely memories to look back on, so it was a thoroughly wonderful week. And I was also very, very successful with my reading. As I usually am on holiday, I read far more on holiday. I'm much more productive than when I'm at home because I don't have to get up so early and I don't spend all day at work dealing with the public. So holidays I can get a lot more done. So first thing I need to update you on is I finally have finished Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan. This took me a while. This is a huge book. And I did find it quite slow going, not just for the fact that it is 1,000 pages long, but also a chunk in the middle especially just seemed to drag. There was a lot going on, it was very exciting, it was very engaging reading, and I did enjoy all of the story, but I do feel like this book could have been a good 200 pages shorter and it wouldn't really have taken much away from the story. So there is that. It took me a long time, but I'm glad to have finished it, and I will definitely be continuing this series over the coming months and trying to get more out of these readings. I will carry on probably with kind of roughly a book a month, which is what I've been doing for the rest of the series, and it's been working out pretty well for me. I loved the ending to this. I think it was a very captivating conclusion, and it's given me lots of questions now for where the story is going to go, lots of things that I'm intrigued about. And I love how developed the characters have become during this series. Some of our original main characters are now much older and much different positions in their life, much more responsibility, and have discovered new things about themselves, so I'm enjoying seeing that. There are also some characters we've seen very little of in the last couple of books that I am desperate to get more story from, so definitely excited to continue, and yet again another 4 out of 5 stars. I think every book in this series has been so far, so a solid read, and very glad to have got through quite so many pages. So with that in mind, I have now read, I think I completed 2 books this week. I read another 3 in their entirety and have started another one, a 6th book, today. So the other one that I've started was the audiobook of The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I started listening to on my journey home today, and I'm really enjoying so far. I've read about a third of this now, I think. And it's a fascinating book, this. It's not quite what I expected, so it is a middle grade, but it feels very mature in the way that it's written. It feels a little bit darker and more sort of old-fashioned fairy tale-esque than I thought it would be. It almost has a feel of being translated. I don't think it is, but it's got that slight difference to the way that the story is told and the type of society that it's discussing, which isn't quite stereotypical for some of the books that I've read. So I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I did get similar vibes actually with The Witch's Boy, also by Kelly Barnhill, the same author, so perhaps she just has a more novel take on fantasy writing, which I am thoroughly enjoying, as I said. And it's not all sweet and fluffy like you would expect some middle grades to be. There are some darker issues in there, and you do feel a little uncomfortable and not quite sure that your characters are safe through the bits that I've read, at least. So it's very engaging, it's very appropriate to read as an adult, and so far is very much living up to the good reports that I'd had of this before picking it up. So excited to carry on with this one. I don't know how quickly I will get through this book with it being an audiobook and me now being home and back at work and everything else. I don't have many opportunities to listen to audiobooks, but I definitely want to carry on with this because it's a very interesting read. So I will just quickly run you through the books I did read this week. So I finished off, first of all, Lord of Chaos, which I've just said, and also The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid, which I absolutely loved. I really, really enjoyed this book. I need to get hold of a physical copy because it was a very high 4-star and I love it and definitely want to read that one again. I then have also read the entirety of Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, a very strong middle grade. Loved this one, proper spooky Halloween vibes. It was actually quite scary in places and the perfect thing to read on Halloween itself, so I thoroughly enjoyed that one and can't wait to carry on with that series. I also have read the whole of The Empty Throne by Bernard Cornwell, a solid continuation of a historical fiction series which I am very far into now and loving every volume of. And then finally Queenslayer by Sebastian de Castell, which I also listened to as audiobook and thoroughly enjoyed too. Again, far into this series. I only have one left, which I hope to get to in December and finish off the entire series, but as usual, a very fun read, lots of high stakes, lots of drama, lots of intrigue, a really, really good series and one I particularly enjoy. So that concludes this month's reading, and I will wrap up this video for you now. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please give me a like down below, chat to me in the comments about any of the books I've read, anything else you'd like to discuss with me. Have you been to the Lake District? Have you been enjoying autumn this year? Feel free to chat to me, and please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me. It really helps. I will see you again very soon with another video, but bye for now.